All right. So what can I do for you, my friend? Are you
Okay,
innocent as you claim to
that's
be? We're going to find out now. Okay.
that's my
Go
name.
ahead.
That's my name. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Can you hear me good?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Um, I heard this argument from Christians. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I want you to like debunk it or give me why it doesn't make sense. You know,
Okay.
because I thought it was very valid.
All right.
And that argument is Allah having a son.
Okay.
Like, can Allah have a son if he wanted to?
So what's the argument?
So this is the not the argument, but it's more like a question, a line of
Okay.
questions.
Okay.
Like, can Allah have a son if he wanted to?
Okay. Can you clarify what do you mean by have a son? So if you mean choose from what he created, or do you mean create another God? Because if you say this is you see now
Like
this question
having
can
offspring,
be
offspring.
yeah. So that's how I'm trying to answer you now by clarifying the question, because the question can mean two things.
Hmm.
Because again, the word son has three meanings. Son biologically, where you give birth, or you become pregnant and give birth.
Mm-hmm.
Son through adoption, there is someone you say you adopt and then he becomes your child. Or
Mm-hmm.
son metaphorically, where that person is not your son in any way, shape, or form, but you just use that term. For instance, an old man crossing the street and says, "Son, help me to cross." He's not, you're not his son, but he's just metaphorically saying that as a gentle way of referring to you. Now, so there, it's one of these three things. So now, if you're asking the question of choosing of the creation as a form, like kind of adoption or whatever, then nothing necessarily logically prohibits that, but it's something that God doesn't do, because then people will worship that thing and will not worship the creator. Now, if you're talking about giving birth biologically, or anything of that sort, offspring of that sort, then no, Allah does not have children, does not have sons. That's clear in the Quran. Allah says he doesn't beget nor he's born. And the reason is very simple, is because the minute that happens, you have two gods. You don't have one God. And anything which is created or made or relies on something else for its existence cannot be God by definition. God, one of the essential attributes of God is independence, or you want to use the philosophical terms or whatever, aseity or whatever, it doesn't matter really. I don't like using philosophical terms. Independence is a very clear term. So God is independent. And if God is independent, if you say there is a son, there is also a God, then by definition, that excludes the son from being God, because he's dependent on that father.
Okay, maybe I ask it
So
the
that's
wrong
the
way.
simple answer to your question. Yeah.
Let's say it this way: if Allah wanted to have a son, how would He do it? If He wanted to have a son, would He do it in one of those three ways you said, like
Yeah,
said be
Allah
and it
says in
is,
the
or
Quran, if Allah wanted to take a son, lastafa, Allah uses that term, lastafa mimma yakhluqu ma yasha. He will choose from his creation. So he will choose one of the creation, and he will, that creation can be referred to as a son. So it's not going to be an actual like son that is like biologically given or begotten or any of these things. So, but it's going to be a chosen being from the created being. So it's going to be created. So something created that God will choose from what he created, and that will be referred to as a son.
so why would?
But that's what the
Cause
verse in the Quran says.
yeah,
But the verse in the Quran then says, "Glory be to him," or that
he
basically he's high above that. So that's not
yeah,
something that
yeah, I
God would do.
understand that one. I
Yeah.
understand that one.
Sure.
But if he, because I know I read a verse that say, um, he told Muhammad he will be the first of worshippers. So why would they worship a created being if Allah wanted to have a son he would choose from his creation? Why would they
Well,
worship
that talks
a?
about that talks about the impossibility. It says, "قل إن كان للرحمن ولد." Say if the Creator had a son. So
Mm-hmm.
Creator doesn't have a son. So if I
But
said
if
if I'm hungry, so if I said if I'm hungry I would eat, that doesn't mean I'm hungry. So
yeah, but no,
that hypothetical if can be an impossibility. You can say something as an impossibility
and
and
he
say
also
if this
cannot.
impossibility. So for example, I can say if I could fly, I'd go to the moon. I mean, that doesn't mean that this is a possibility, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that's something I could do. So this verse explores something which is an impossibility. So essentially, it says that we don't. It's not that we have an issue with the idea of being son or not being son, of
Mm-hmm.
God having a son or not. It's just that it's an impossibility. So the verse is essentially saying, if this was a possibility, if something like this could happen, there would
They
be no
will
problem
worship
in us
him.
worshiping that son. Yeah, why
Why
not?
would they? Why would he be? Why would he be worshipped if he was a created being?
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's an impossibility. You
But
cannot
no,
have a son. You cannot have a son that is also a god. But this verse is essentially saying, if that impossibility was true,
happen.
and somehow he can be created and God at the same time, which is an impossibility, then he will be worshipped because he will be God. But it's an impossibility. Do you understand
So
what I'm saying about
yeah,
about impossibilities
but me,
here?
I'm trying to, because not everything is impossible. Not all ifs are impossibility, right?
In this case, it is, yeah.
Okay, but me, I'm
And I
trying to
gave you
get
the
to,
reason why. Did you hear
yeah.
why? Yeah, so it's an impossibility, logically. I already told you why.
But he said he would if he wanted to. How is that impossible?
What? Who would what? Like, I think you're
All I
mixing
say,
two verses. I already told you. One verse talks about the rational impossibility of having a child through that child also being God, meaning begotten or any of that. So this is an impossibility. So this verse explores the impossibility. Other verse talks about a different type of son, which I already told you, choosing something that is created. So it's not going to be a literal God. So if Allah wanted to pick something and refer to it as a son, he would pick something from his creation, but that's not going to be the son in the conventional meaning of the word. So you cannot mix these two verses, which are in separate, obviously, surahs and separate occasions talking about different things.
Let me get this straight. So if he wanted to have a son, he would choose from his creation.
Yes. But again, I said to you, what son means there? Just Allah will refer to it as a son.
What would he mean? What would he mean?
In that way. Yeah, it's like you can refer to it in a way like adoption, something similar to adoption. Okay, I'm gonna take one of those creation and it will be referred to as the son of God. Okay, that's it.
Okay,
that's what it means. That's why Allah uses the word istafa, which means to choose. So Allah will choose one of the created things. Yeah.
I saw the argument and it kind of makes sense because think about it. Me, when I see the Jesus of the Quran, it's similar to the Jesus of the Bible, but the essential things that Jesus preached, the essential things that he brought, it wasn't recorded in the Quran, or the Quran disputed. You get me? So me, I'll be trying to understand, how is this Jesus of the Quran the real Jesus? If he's a bit different, if he's not a little bit, but only, I would say only the birth is very similar, but everything else is kind of different. You get me? So I'll be trying to understand.
You kind of confused me because you said that they're very similar. Then you ended up by saying they're not similar. So
yeah, they're similar. They're similar in the sense that Jesus was born from Mary. He was sinless, things like that. But then
where does the Quran say Jesus was sinless? Not
the Quran. Right. I heard is in the hadiths. What are you? Are you a Sunni or no?
There's no such thing. I'm a Muslim, and there's no such thing in the Quran or the hadith. You can find it? Go ahead.
You say Jesus was, so it's possible that Jesus was not sinless. He was a sinner.
It is the case in the Bible, I would say. But in Islam, there is no comment. Yeah. In Islam, there is no specific mention whether he was or he wasn't. Just like there isn't, for instance, there are 25 prophets mentioned in the Quran by name. I mean, these prophets, many of them, or you just say even maybe most of them, there's nothing in the Quran or Hadith where it specifically mentions them committing a sin or not. So anyone can make the claim, oh, he's sinless because there is nothing about sins mentioned. No. I mean, you don't say someone is sinless just because there is no record of him sinning. I mean, someone can sin and you just don't know that they sinned.
I can also bring it the other way. If you don't have no record of him sinning, he possibly didn't sin, you know. I could turn it to you again.
Sorry, say that again, sorry?
Like you're saying we don't have evidence of him not sinning. I could say we don't have evidence of him sinning, you know.
No, we have a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said every child of Adam commits sins.
But Jesus was not the child of Adam.
He was a child of Adam. Even in the Bible, he was a child. What are you talking about?
No, even in the Quran.
No, I said in the Quran, he's definitely a child of Adam. But in the Bible, he's also a child of Adam. So I don't know what you're talking about. In the Bible, in Luke, explicitly mentions in the genealogy.
Yeah, in the Bible,
he talks about Jesus. And it says the son of Adam, right?
Yeah.
So he's a son of Adam. In Islam, he's also a son of Adam because he comes from Mary. So if he comes from Mary and Mary comes from Adam, by definition, he is from the children of Adam. I don't know what you mean by saying that
Mary,
he's not a son of Adam.
How is he the son? How is he the son of Mary? If married women don't have a seed, how would you say is her son when Jesus didn't come from, like, yes, she gave birth to him, but he didn't come from Mary.
Jesus didn't come from Mary.
No, he came from Mary in birth, but like there was no man that impregnated her to have that
That's
son.
irrelevant. That's irrelevant.
How? And
Who
him being
told you that? Where did you get this criteria that you need a seed in order for someone to be the son of someone? I don't understand.
I mean, for
That's the whole
every
point. That's the whole point. That's the whole point
for
of
every
it being a
human,
miracle. For it being, allow me to finish, please. That is the whole point of it being a miraculous birth. That's why the Quran says Jesus is the son of Mary. If he is the son of Mary, then he's the son of Adam, because Mary is from the children of Adam.
yeah. But
And like this, really, you're really making a really bad. I'm sorry to say, but really bad argument there. I mean, like,
no,
so yeah.
it makes sense. It
You know
makes.
what?
I mean, a bit,
What
a
makes
little
sense?
bit, a little bit. Because if you think about it, a normal human would come from a man. A man, yeah, impregnate a woman, and then the seed of a man.
Okay, so okay, okay. Did Adam come from a man and a woman, from a seed of a man?
He was created.
Oh, Jesus was also created
How?
by God. He was created in the womb of Mary. What's the problem in God creating someone in the womb of Mary?
Where you get that from? He was like created in the womb of Mary. In your
In the
paradigm.
Quran, in the Quran.
What's the
Open in
verse?
the chapter 3 of the Quran and the description of the birth of Jesus. And Gabriel responds to Mary when she says, "How can I have a son when no man has
No
touched
man,
me?"
yeah.
And then he says, يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ. Allah creates what He wills. So in reference to Jesus in this case, that
Okay.
Allah creates what He wills, and in this case, He created Jesus. Chapter 3, you're listening? Al-Imran.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Verse 47. Read it.
47. Go.
Mhm.
Okay. He said, how can I have a child when no mortal
He
has
said, not he or she.
she? That's
Yeah,
my bad.
not he. Yeah, so obviously Mary is a she in this case, okay? So yeah, okay. Go ahead. Yes.
She said,
Uh-huh.
my Lord, how can
Uh-huh.
I have a child when no mortal has touched me? That's a question.
Yes.
He
Uh-huh.
said, so it will be in quotation mark, Allah created what He will. If He
Allah
decree,
creates what
yeah,
He will.
Allah created what He will. If He
Creates, not
decree,
created. Created is a
create, yeah,
past
create
tense.
what He
Yeah,
will.
okay.
If He
Yes.
decrees something, a thing, He said, into it be and it is. But that's not how He
Yeah,
created
very clear.
Jesus.
Very clear. Sorry, what?
That's not how He created Jesus. He didn't say be and it is.
He said be and it is. That's actually wrong.
To
In
Jesus,
fact, that's also
to create
yeah,
Jesus.
that's also yes, that's also clear in the Quran. Same chapter. Go to verse 59.
Because I know a verse where He said, He blew
Can you
into
go
Mary.
to verse 59? Can you go
Yeah,
to
the
verse
same
59?
chapter.
That you're talking about Gabriel, not God. But go to verse 59. Yeah, 59, same chapter.
Okay.
Just go on to 59.
Can we go to that verse after?
No. You said about the creation from saying
Yeah,
be and it
he-
is. So
he
go to
didn't-
verse 59.
Uh-huh.
Go to verse
I'm
59.
there. I'm there.
I'm refuting you by verse 59. So read it.
Okay, no problem. I will have another verse that also refuted.
Can we read verse 59? Can we
Okay,
read
let me
verse
read it.
59?
Indeed, this is
you're not really doing a good argument here. Sorry, a
Okay.
good job of arguing. But go ahead. Yes, verse
Okay, no
59.
problem.
Read it.
This is Sahih International. Indeed, the example of
Sahih.
Jesus
Uh-huh.
to Allah is like that of Adam. He created him from dust. Then He said to him, be, and he was.
Sorry, he said what?
He said to him, be, and he was. I
To
have
who?
another verse to Jesus.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, so you just said a minute ago that he wasn't created by saying be and it is. He was
Yes, I have
created
the verse that shows that.
by saying be and it is.
Can I bring the verse?
No, because we're jumping everywhere.
No,
here.
it's the
I
same
wanna
verse that
understand what your
speaks on
argument.
how he was created.
No, I want to just understand what your argument is, regardless of how he was created. What's the argument you're trying to make? Because
Okay,
we keep
so
jumping to different
this verse is saying he was created by Allah saying be and he was, and there's another verse that contradict that say Allah blew into Mary through Gabriel. So how is that the same thing?
Okay,
how
I already corrected you. I already corrected you now because now you're lying because I told you Allah doesn't say. Yeah, no, but you heard what? Okay, first let's establish you were disproving clearly because you said that it doesn't say that Jesus was created by saying be and it is, and I explicitly refuted you by bringing a verse that says that.
No, you
then
didn't,
I also
'cause I
told
have
you.
something
Let
that
me finish what I'm
refute
saying.
that.
Let me
Okay.
finish what I'm saying. Then you said something about blowing, and I told you you're wrong. This is reference to Gabriel. Then you said again it's Allah when I just told you it's not. So go ahead, show me. Where does it say Allah?
Okay, let me bring the verse. Go to chapter 66, verse 12.
Okay, give me one moment. Huh. Okay. I'm reading the verse. Where does it say Allah?
Okay,
Uh-huh.
let me read it. This is the Pico. Let me see.
Oh, so why did you pick this specific translation when you were reading Sahih
No.
International a minute ago?
Is it not the same translation?
Oh, I know why you're doing it. This is, you see why? This is why.
Okay, tell me.
It's
I
so
don't know
funny.
why
that-
what you think. Tell me.
Let me now, like with all this respect, bust you and get you busted in 4K, as they say. Let me read that verse in every other translation and see why you're picking that translation. Here, Mustafa Khattab translation. There is also example of Mary, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, so we breathed into her womb through our angel Gabriel. She testified to the words of her Lord. Now we read Sahih International, which you read before a minute ago, but all of a sudden now you don't want to read it. It says,
No, I
an
would
example
read
of
it.
Mary, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, and we blew into her garment through our angel, i.e. Gabriel.
Then the
She
question
believed
is,
into
who blew?
our words. Abdul Halim translation. We breathed into her from our spirit. Okay?
Who blew?
So even Pickthel, it says our spirit. The spirit here, with agreement of all Muslims, is Angel Gabriel, who came to Mary in the story which you're already reading in chapter 19. Because Allah in the Quran already refers to Angel Gabriel as the spirit. Allah calls him Ruh al-Qudus, the pure spirit. Allah calls him Ruh al-Amin, the trustworthy spirit. So all over the Quran where Angel Gabriel is calling Ruh. Allah says the Ruh, the Angel Gabriel will come and the rest of the angels will come. So
Okay.
you said Allah. I told you it's Angel Gabriel.
Let me
and
tell
then
you why
you
it's
ended up
Allah.
bringing a verse that shows you what I was telling you is exactly what
Can
I
I
was
tell you
telling
why it's Allah?
Okay, go ahead. Tell me
Who
why it's Allah.
blew? Who blew? He blew, like the originator of
Gabriel
that.
did.
Come on, man. Who blew? Who blew? Yes, Gabriel was the mediator, but he's not the one where the breath originates from.
Angel Gabriel is the one who did. Allah created all of us. We're all creation of God. And
Okay.
and
Muslim lantern.
I mean, that's you're look, basically you're really clutching into straws because you said you will concede when you go to the verse. We went to
Yes,
the
and-
verse. The verse says, sorry, we went to the verse. The verse says Angel Gabriel, but you're still trying to argue there was an Angel Gabriel.
So Angel Gabriel.
Okay, so can you tell me
is
why
the
does it
father
mention
of-
Angel Gabriel? Why does
Angel
it mention
Gabriel
Angel Gabriel?
created Jesus through Mary? Would you say that?
No.
Since the breath came from
why is
Angel
the verse,
Gabriel.
Answer the question I'm asking you first. Why is it mentioned Angel Gabriel? What did he do?
He was the mediator. Allah blew.
What did he do?
And it came from. Yes, he's the one who put the spirit in Mary. But where did the spirit come from?
How did he put the spirit? What did he do?
Allah blew through Angel Gabriel, and boom.
No, that's not what the verse is. Is the verse telling you that?
Okay, let me read again. And Mary, the daughter of Imran, who guarded her chastity, and we breathe into who's we?
Angel Gabriel. And reference
Angel
to Angel
Gabriel
Gabriel.
is we? Is we? The only person
Yes.
who's referred to as we in the Quran is who?
No. Like you're Allah can refer to something which is an agent of God doing the
we.
action that God. Let me finish. Allah can refer to something as an agent of God that is fulfilling the command of God that He commanded him to do, and Allah can use we in reference to that. And like I already mentioned this many times before, it's basic in English language. You have like the royal term we. So the queen, for instance, will say we created
Yes.
whatever. She says we, even though it's people creating the buildings.
Sure.
Because we here, the people creating are with the command of the queen, with the royal decree. So if Angel Gabriel is doing something with the royal decree, then the we can be used here. Now,
That's
again,
Gabriel.
like I said, you're just the one who blew, the one who is there. What you're missing here? Why would Allah send Angel Gabriel if he's not the one blowing?
Because Allah is not going to come to blow.
Wait,
Allah is
one second.
Okay.
Yeah. If okay, but you're claiming Allah blew from above the heavens and it
He
came
blew.
down.
Somehow
Okay,
he blew. We don't know.
One second. Oh, somehow, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
he
if
blew.
Allah blew from wait, let me finish this
Okay.
this funny scenario that you have. So
Okay.
the blue came from heaven, but somehow Allah needed Angel Gabriel. Why? If the blue came from heaven, that's it, done. It comes from heaven, it goes into Mary. Why do you need Angel Gabriel? Look,
What's the
I'm
purpose
sorry
of
to
Angel
say,
Gabriel?
I'm sorry. That's my question to you. Why are you asking my question?
He is the mediator, Muslim lantern. He's the mediator. Come on.
I'm sorry to say, like, but please, this really getting embarrassing now. Christian logic is really out of the window with all the
Oh,
respect.
God.
You went to the verse. The verse didn't say Allah, it said Angel Gabriel. I showed you multiple translations now, and you're clearly trying to pretend that this is not the case. You go to any exegesis of the Quran, tafsir. Go bring me one exegete that said that it wasn't Angel Gabriel.
Where you getting Angel Gabriel is the one who blew? Where you getting that? Can I don't see that in Pico, Sahih International.
It says from our spirit. So the blowing was from the spirit. That spirit was Angel Gabriel. Min in the Arabic language, min ruhina. So the min here is referring to the person who did it. From who? From ruhina, the our spirit, referring to Angel Gabriel. I mean, this is. Do you know what's funny about Christians when they argue? Wait. Before you think you discovered like the nuclear bomb or something?
I did.
Wait,
you gotta be honest. You gotta be honest.
You kept discovering the nuclear bomb this entire conversation. Every time you realize it's blowing in your face.
Friend.
But listen, my friend. Listen, Mr. Ennis. Listen. We're not going to keep going in circles. The problem with Christians is the following. They ignore... your camera went off again.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
This is what happens when you discover explosions. They explode in your face.
Oh, God. Hey, you gotta be honest, man. You gotta be honest. Your
I'm the one who gotta be honest. Yeah.
Yes,
clearly, I'm the one who gotta be honest. Not you, who's
your heart
who keeps jumping through hoops. Listen, Mr. Innocent, who clearly is not innocent at all. Listen here. I'm gonna say this very clearly. The problem with Christians like you is even if you're showing them the sun, you're showing them clear evidence, clear text, they still argue for the sake of arguing. If you want to have a discussion with a Muslim and you go, then you have to be charitable and understand. First, every translation says Angel Gabriel. You cannot come up and tell us, let me finish what I'm saying. Every translation says to us, people can go and research it now. I give guys.
Put it here. Look, I have it here.
I have it here. Chapter 66 of the Quran.
I have it here.
Go on your own. Mister, I have it here. Let me finish what I'm saying. I already gave you the reference.
Why you, bro?
I'm really going to remove you if you're not being patient, right? Be patient while I'm talking. If I give people the reference, how am I not being honest? You can just Google it right now. It's so ridiculous. Listen, let me finish. So anyone can go right now, like I said, to chapter 66 of the Quran verse. And you'll see the translations. Go on Quran.com or any of these. You'll see they're all saying Angel Gabriel. They're all saying through Angel Gabriel. They're all saying Angel Gabriel.
Through.
This is... So yeah, so the one who did the blowing.
So the one who did the blowing is no.
So let me finish what I'm saying.
Are you serious?
So okay, I'm really gonna remove you after this if you interrupt again. So through Angel Gabriel, the blowing happened. And I already responded to that. I said Angel Gabriel was doing the command of Allah. So the he is referencing Angel Gabriel fulfilling and doing as Allah commanded him to do. When Allah Azza wa Jal says we send down the rain, we believe as Muslims there is an angel that is commanded to control the rain. Okay? There's an angel that is commanded to control the rain and bring down the rain. Now Allah still says we brought down the rain because that angel that brings down the rain is doing and fulfilling the command of Allah that Allah commanded him to do.
Who brought down the rain?
To claim to see we. Yes, Allah says he's the one who did it because he created the angel and he's the one who's given him.
That's my point, my friend.
Because no, that's not your point. That's you trying to
the angels are mediator.
Wait,
the angels are mediator.
Let me finish what I'm saying. That's you trying to jump through the hoop of what I already told you, that the Quran mentions Angel Gabriel, and you said no, it doesn't say Angel Gabriel, it says Allah. And when we went to the verse and you saw that it says Angel Gabriel, you didn't concede as you claimed. You lied. You said I'm going to concede if it says Angel Gabriel.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, if you're not honest, then there's no point of me having to continue the discussion with you. But I mean, Christians would just want to argue for the sake of arguing. He started first with the sun, he got refuted. And then he moved into that Jesus was not created by BL and He was refuted. Then he said, he went to Angel Gabriel, he was refuted. But then he just kept arguing for the sake of arguing. So, I mean, at this point, there's really not much we can do.